Hello and welcome. This is going to be a part of the Let's Talk About Death series. And I think I do a few thoughts about, I just want to say how to react to it, but more like how do we react to it. Because my philosophy is there are no wrong reactions. There are some important things to keep in mind, I think, which is that anger can often be a common reaction, especially when we lose a loved one unexpectedly. And it's important that if anger is a key feeling for you, to not look for somebody to blame and to certainly not take it out on another person. It's unless you are in a very particular situation where you have absolute positive confirmation that something is their fault, don't do that. And especially if you're talking about in situations where somebody had to be in charge, next of kin or eldest sibling or things like that, that's a very fucking hard position to be in. Don't be mad at those people. And oftentimes they were put in charge because it was felt that they could make the best of a worst situation. And it's hard enough on that. But that being said, anger is a very common reaction when somebody dies or when we lose somebody in a big way. It doesn't have to be death necessarily. And especially if you've not had, well, if I guess if you've not had a lot of experience with death, or you didn't have it explained in a way, um, or even just if in growing up, anger was, for a lot of us, especially in American culture, anger is, it's a weird dichotomy. It's acceptable and also not. Oftentimes, anger is far more acceptable than grief. Um, but anger is, we're also taught, you don't be angry at anybody. You don't express those feelings, and you don't, those are shadows. You hide those. And so when we have big moments that come out, especially the loss of a loved one when we weren't expecting it, or maybe we didn't get the information in time, or things like that, it's kind of that the thing to which you have held back the most in your life for many reasons, for many usually other things, will be the first thing to get you. If you have kept yourself from being sad about other things in your life, it may be sadness, depression, things like that that come first. If, in a funny way, if you've not had yourself be happy, if you've been holding that back and tending to a lot of other people's needs and things like that, you might find yourself feeling really happy. And also, a common one, which is one that my oldest son has been working through, is just kind of a disassociation. You don't know how you feel. We kind of call it, we call it floaty. You feel kind of floaty, and also kind of heavy. You don't really know how to feel. You don't really know what to do. And somebody could ask you a million questions, and your answer is, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. You know? And sometimes that answer can be no, or I'm fine, or I'm okay, or I don't need anything. And there's truth to that, and also not truth to that. It's okay to feel that way. It's okay to not know what the heck you want or feel. It's okay to not feel for a while. It's okay to check out for a little while. And likewise, it's okay to get mad. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to be happy. I mean, you may have just had some really great things happen in your life and then have a loss of a loved one, or a loss of a person in another way that's really big. And you might feel weird about feeling happy when everybody else is feeling sad. But it's okay. It's okay. Whatever your process is your process. And it's important to allow whatever anybody else's process is to be their process, you know? And I feel privileged in some ways because, like, in a weird way, having two fairly young kids uh, to talk through this stuff with, while having my elder parents too, who they've had their dealings with death, but when they were younger, there wasn't I won't say there wasn't a way to really talk through this stuff, but it just wasn't really talked about too much. I know they talked about it amongst their siblings and stuff like that, but especially when you lose like a parent or a parental figure or something along those lines, who do you go to console you when those were the people that did? Or if you had parents that weren't very consoling and you're already dealing with how do I self-soothe? How do I do this stuff, you might not know. You might not know what to do. And it's been very interesting because there's no roadmaps. So none of this is planned, but like an example, I my dad is not one to talk much usually. But this is a big thing. And the person, my aunt that we lost was, she was also our roommate too, and always around and bugging him in good ways and keeping company and things like that. And even just having the presence there was big. So this is a different thing. Typically, I would just leave him alone, let him talk when he wants to. But I know it's good to ask, if nothing else. And I had asked him earlier how he was feeling about things. And, it had been told to me by others that he was kind of grouching at people. And I'd heard that he got yelled at even by a different family member, because anger is a common thing. And that also happened with my mom and others. And it was such great timing, because as I'd asked him that and he started to grouch, not good, my youngest son came and sat in my lap, just cheerful as all day, and wasn't afraid to sit there with me while we said, you know what, Grandpa, anger is a totally natural reaction to everything that's going on. And I felt like my dad's presence just kind of, like, oh, it's okay. It's okay that I'm angry. And he sat down and we talked. And it didn't all go, and sometimes you're going to want to talk about the person. Sometimes you're not going to want to talk about it. Sometimes you don't want to think about it. You just want to check out. Other times you want to talk about it. Sometimes you want to talk about death. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you want to pull out things that remind you of the person, and sometimes you don't. Sometimes you want to just put it all away. And I think I'm going to end this video here on this one. This will come up in more videos, but, there isn't a roadmap to how to handle it. My opinion, my thoughts on it, my heart in it is that you simply allow yourself to be. Delete the rules, erase the rules. There aren't any anyways, but we tend to make some up in our head. And if you need some, make some up. If you want somebody to tell you what to do and how to feel, find someone you trust. You can do that. If you don't, and you want to do it your own way, do that. You want to go hermit for a while, do that. You want to open up and talk about it, celebrate, rage, cry, any of it, do it. Do it. And give yourself grace, and give yourself time, and offer that same energy to others, and it will come back to you. And whoever it is that you've lost will be so proud of you. All right, thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next video.